In Civilization 7, towns are more prevalent and powerful than ever, and today I'm going to go through the town focus options I think you should be using to make the most out of them. In this game here as Xerxes, you can see at this current moment I have 19 settlements under my control. Only 6 of them are cities, which means I have 13 towns on this map, so making sure I'm using my towns correctly can be a huge boost to my empire. While some of the town focus options you have available change within each age, I'm going to hop to whichever age in this game can kind of best illustrate why I think a particular town focus is worth using. Let's start right here in Lihue with what I think is the most reliable town focus option, one you should be using all the time, and that is the fishing town. If you ever have a town like this, or whether it's because of resources, because of the kind of ocean land available, or maybe it's navigable river tiles, but you find yourself working a lot of food tiles, that is prime time opportunity for you to use a fishing town. To help illustrate my point, I've downloaded a mod that just shows you what each town is going to give you when you select a town focus. That way we can kind of all pay attention together. But you can see if I choose the fishing town option, I will gain 45 food in this town. The reason why the fishing town focus is the most reliable one and the most kind of universally helpful one is because of how the food interacts with your cities. Once you choose a town focus, it doesn't actually matter which town focus, all of the food in your town is going to get sent to any connected cities. So by choosing a fishing town, we are adding this 45 to this 151 and shipping it off to the other cities nearby. By selecting the fishing town option here, we are now shipping all of that food to Parsa. So Parsa as a city is now collecting more food, up to 990 total, which is incredible, which means it's going to grow more quickly. Having your cities grow more quickly is just a really reliable option. The growth that this extra food provides is just really reliable. I can use it for a rural improvement, further increasing my food, my gold, my culture. I can take that food and that growth and get a specialist, which will increase my adjacencies, add some science, add some culture. If you have a town that is going to increase your food by a ton, it's almost always worth doing because of how flexible that food is used in your city. Now remember, no matter which town focus we choose here, this 151 food is going to the connected cities anyway. So no matter what you do, you are still sending more food to your cities for that reliable growth that you're looking for in them. However, when you have a fishing town like this, or any town that can just send, this is what, another 25% extra food going to the cities, it's just a really safe and reliable option and feels really, really comfortable. If you don't know anything else about towns, you just want to play it safe, just look at your fishing towns, get some kind of food tiles after you've collected all the resources, and this will feel really, really great. Sometimes using this mod kind of helps make your choices for you as well. You can see I can get 45 food here, which is great. That's definitely better than 4 production, which is not that helpful. 8 influence when we're already getting 248 per turn, not that helpful. So this might be the best option kind of anyways, but just really safe and really reliable are the fishing towns. I think my favorite town focus is actually the subscribe option. If you click the subscribe option just below this video, you're going to make me very happy, but additionally, you are going to get some awesome Civ 7 content right on the front page of your YouTube feed. In Civilization 7, the amount of production you need to create buildings goes up within each city. So for every building you build in a city, you have an extra 5% added to the next building production you are going to construct. Separately, the amount of cities in your empire adds 10% per city to your production. So you're going to want to find a way to get some buildings in your empire without increasing that production overall. This is where urban centers come in, and on this patch they have been a godsend for me. I've loved using a couple of them in each age. The main thing an urban center allows you to do in each age is purchase the tier 1 buildings of each type in that town. If I go to buy something in this town right now, I'm kind of limited to mostly the ageless warehouse buildings and the altar, or in the next age, the temple, which you're able to buy in towns anyways. But because of this production scaling in the cities, what if I want some science? What if I want some culture? What if I want another production building? How am I going to go about that? Well, we are going to create an urban center. Now, for your town to be a good urban center, you need a few things. First, you need the gold economy to be able to buy the buildings. If you change into an urban center but then can't actually afford the buildings, maybe you're in a war, maybe you're fighting, maybe you're spending money on other things, maybe your gold income isn't good, that might be a problem. And the second thing you need are some adjacencies, right? We have this mountain here. I can put a good culture building here. If I go here and I grab the monument, for instance, you can see putting it right here would be amazing. 7 culture, 2 influence, that would be great. If I grab the library as well, there's some good resources here for some science adjacencies. So I have some good adjacencies. So when I purchase those buildings, I'm getting the most out of them. So let's change to an urban center, which is awesome. Now I can purchase the tier 1 version of each building. So you can't go past the tier 1 version, but you can see here, I can get a good science building and a good production building. They share the same adjacency. Maybe I want this science, over here. So maybe we need to get a culture building first to hop over here. Wonderful. Just for now, we will grab this monument. That's a great monument for us. It's an extra 6 culture, and we weren't making that much culture, so that's impressive. This library is now giving us 5 science. That's a 10% increase to our science in this town here. So you can see just in one turn by having an urban center for the rest of the age, I'm going to have a huge boost to my science and culture just because I had a town with some good adjacencies. Voila, I can also add this production building to create the quarter right here, which is exceptional. That'll add some production. So now this town is generating more gold as well. In the exploration age, Wailuku might be a good town for this kind of thing. It's definitely got some fishing town vibes going on here, but we have great mountain adjacency for some culture buildings, good resource adjacency for some science buildings. Very similar idea happening here. If we change to an urban center, that is awesome, and let's see what we can do here. You know, buildings are a little more expensive in the next stage, but that's all good. A really, really good kiln going down here. 8 culture per turn. We're getting 756. That's mostly because we're Hawaii, though, but that's a really, really good kiln for us. If we get this dungeon and this observatory here, that's going to feel really good for us as well. Next to the resource down here is an 8 science tile as well. So there's lots going on here, which is awesome. You can see just how good urban centers can be if you have the right adjacencies to make them work. The next town focus I've really loved later into the game, where you have a lot of kind of smaller towns that have a lot of kind of rural tiles with happiness on them, are these resort towns. This wasn't something I used very much until this most recent patch, where you kind of need a few more towns doing things for you. But as you can see in this town, which is just a normal town, there's nothing crazy special about it, just a normal town for me, I'm getting 42 happiness and 42 gold per turn. This one scales up as you go through the game, so you're getting more happiness and more gold. It's per age, so you're getting 3 happiness and 3 gold for each of these tiles. What I've really liked about this is not really the gold income. 42 gold's not nothing per turn, but what I've really liked is the happiness income here. We are at 1,332 happiness, so we're doing all right, but this kind of extra happiness boost allows us to do a few things. The main thing it allows us to do is more reliably get celebrations, which are going to be huge boosts for your empire. Now, happiness works in a little bit of a funny way. This happiness from this town isn't going through a city. It's just being added to the empire happiness. So we're still getting it per turn, but it's not going to a city. This means if I were to build this museum, for instance, in Parsa, that 4 happiness is coming from the city. So it's not going to help me in my cities if I have a low amount of happiness. Let's say I want a specialist or a building, and I have 2 happiness in the city, and I don't want to dip below 0. That extra happiness from the town is not going to be helpful. But so long as I have a surplus, that 40 happiness we're getting here, as long as I have a surplus in my cities, is the equivalent of 10 buildings worth of happiness, right? And so I'm able to get 10 buildings worth of happiness from that town. I still got to make sure I have it in my city authentically as well. But when you have 89, it's a good way to ensure you can get a good balance of celebrations and buildings and specialists. So I've really enjoyed using it. You can see down here in towns where you have a natural wonder as well, it's obviously going to be great. 34 happiness, 22 gold, but it adds that extra food, it adds that extra culture, gives plus 50% tile yields from natural wonders, so we'll select that, and boom, we've got 3 really amazing tiles down here. I would be surprised if you have more than like 1 or 2 towns where this is really going to pop off in your games, but I've really enjoyed using them. I found them very helpful, so I just want to make sure you know about the resort town options so that you're not missing them if they'll be a good choice for you. This next one depends a little more on the game and the situation, but I've really enjoyed a hub town from time to time to really supplement my influence. I find influence generation to vary wildly from game to game. In some games, I'm just able to generate a ton. In other games, I'm not able to generate much at all. And that's where hub towns can be very, very helpful. What's great about hub towns is they don't so much rely on the types of improvements you're putting down. For your fishing towns, you need farms or pastures. For your mining towns, you need camps or woodcutters or whatever. But for your hub town, you just need connected settlements. I haven't even used merchants to connect anything, just naturally throughout my game, just based on the location of this town here. We have 8 connected settlements, which means we can use a hub town to get 8 additional influence. Now, in a game where I'm already generating 105, it's possible that I might look at the 8 and not exactly appreciate it. However, influence is so powerful, whether it's choosing city states, sending or supporting, accepting, denying endeavors, whatever it is. I find the more influence you have, the better. If not for nothing, you're just going to bank this 8, and then when someone declares war on you, you'll have all of that extra influence just spam into your war score. I would not sleep on hub towns. If you have one that's just kind of naturally connected to a whole bunch of settlements, then this hub town can be very powerful. And finally, the last town focus I find myself using frequently, although I'm not sure it's as good as the others we've mentioned so far, is the mining town. Like the farming town or food option, the production option varies wildly depending on what improvements you have. In this town, we have 7 mines and 5 woodcutters, so we will gain 48 production, which means we will have 48 gold added to the total. Now, when we're making 2,700 gold per turn, maybe 48 gold is not a lot, but in very few games am I making this much gold, so 48 gold might be a little bit better. Separately, sometimes you're just picking between the best options available. If I go to the farming town, I don't really need this 9 extra food. I think the 48 gold is going to be better than that. Same with this 3 extra influence, right? You can kind of just look through and be like, okay, well, in this town, the 48 production and that 48 gold is going to be better than the farming town or the hub town. Although, as we can see, probably not better than the resort town, because I'm getting a lot of that gold anyway, but I'm also gaining some extra happiness, but the mining town's still not a bad option. I find the mining towns to scale a lot better in the early game. In the early game, you have a ton of options for the mining town to influence, whether it's mines on resources, your woodcutters, etc., etc. We're about to grow in this salt right here, which will be another one kind of added to the mining town option. More importantly, though, I find mining towns to be a little bit better early on because you need the gold a lot more. When you're making 213 gold, the extra gold we would get from this here, which is 10 at this point from that production in your town, is really, really excellent. I haven't been using this one as much recently, but there is still a place for mining towns in your empire, and having the right city to make them work can help them really generate a lot. Specifically, towns where you have a lot of kind of mineable resources and kind of woodcutters anyway, you're kind of already set up for success. And finally, in the modern age, I found myself using factory towns more and more. Getting the occasional factory town can be helpful for a few reasons. By being able to build a factory in your town, you can kind of go for more factory resources without having to take resources out of your cities. These factory resources give global effects. So you want this plus 3% science to be activated, but maybe you want that 3% science and you want to be able to slot all of these city resources in. Well, without taking away a lot of these city resources, which I would otherwise have to do to fit in these factory ones, I can scroll down here to my town. Lanai Town is a factory town, and I've put a factory in it, and I am gaining a whole bunch of science for my empire in a town that would not be using resources otherwise. For the cost of 3, 6, 9, 12, 15% science in my empire, I have not used, oh my goodness, what, 6 food? You know what I mean? This is just a way better way to get some factory resources in while still keeping your cities powerful with their own resources. I have a ton of resources in this game and a ton of resource slots, so I've been able to make it work anyway. But separately, it's a great way to go for this victory condition. If you're trying to chug along to an economic victory here, getting those extra factory resources in can be very helpful. Now, before you leave this video, I'm aware that there are a lot more town focuses and a lot of good uses for those town focuses in every age. I just wanted to highlight the ones I found most helpful. It's not to say the other town focuses aren't helpful or aren't good or aren't balanced or you shouldn't use them. I just want to show off the ones I've been using most in my games and I've found the best way to improve my games of Civilization 7. As always, I am only one person playing Civilization the way I find it most fun and interesting to play, and I'm just trying to pass some of that knowledge on to you. So in your games, go through your towns, try out all the focuses. Well, this one doesn't have any focuses, but try out all the focuses for yourself. Do you have focuses? Oh my god. Anyways, you're going to go into your games, you're going to try them for yourself, you're going to find what works for you. We have focuses here. Maybe you'll love the trade outpost and the extra range it gives you and the extra happiness. Maybe you're in the middle of a war and a fort town can be very, very exciting. I just wanted to highlight the ones that work best for me. Regardless, though, no matter what you're going to choose, the best way to use towns is simply to lean into what you're going to select. If you have a town like this, and we talked about the mining option and the urban center option, let's say you want to go for the mining option. If you know in this town you are going to select the mining town when it makes sense and get that production, when you get to grow, you want to make sure you're putting down tiles that'll make the most use out of it. Don't put a farm here if you know you're going to go for the mining option. Get this mine, get this woodcutter, get that mine. Make sure you are actively growing into tiles that will eventually make your focus good. If you're simply going in at a random point and just seeing which one's the best, that can be helpful, but these are here for you to view from the beginning, so you can see which ones you might want to go to, look at the land around, and go say, oh, this town right here has a whole bunch of fishing boats, so possibly I might want to go for a fishing town and lean into that. That means, though, that I don't want to build this woodcutter over here, because that's not going to be as helpful. In any case, I hope you enjoyed that video on the town focus options in Civilization 7, and I hope you can improve your Civ 7 games from here. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, let me know in the comments or in Discord the next kind of tutorials you'd love to see. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.